Welcome in, y'all. It's conference championship weekend. We have some great games on deck. But with these great games, it got me thinking of these recent conference championships we've had over these last 5 years. There's been a lot of good ones. I wanted to go through them, rank them, talk about which was best, kind of just look at these games. They were a lot of fun, and it's always fun to revisit some of these. So we'll start here at number 10. Really the only one of these games that really got out of hand, and it was due to this right here. The Brock Purdy injury ruined what really could have been a great game. These were two teams we really didn't know who was going to take it between them. But he gets hurt, and the Niners just they can't move the ball that game. Eagles run away with it. Dominant 31-7 win. They go on to the Super Bowl to lose to Kansas City. But yeah, I mean, really, like I said, the only true bad one. This next one here, we're gonna look at the other Eagles conference championship from this decade. Just last season, Eagles Commanders started off as a decent game, it seemed like, and Eagles really stretched that lead out. Commanders tried to make a late push, but it just wasn't enough. I mean, they could not stop Philadelphia. 55 points they put up in this one. And, it was one heck of a playoff run for the Eagles that year. I mean, it was a heck of a run for the Commanders, too. This was a game coming into it that, we were like, the Eagles are a much better team, but who knows with Washington at this point? They got 12 wins that year. They weren't supposed to. They go on the road, beat Tampa Bay, on the road, take out the 1 seed, Lions. But in the end, Philly got the job done. They went into the Super Bowl last year, and as we all know, they dominated the Chiefs in that one. Hurts and the Eagles got their first Super Bowl in their second try. This one had the making of a memorable game, like I said, with division rivals, unexpected underdog. Maybe they get something going, but unfortunately, it just didn't really live up to expectations. Unfortunately, it was still a fun watch nonetheless. But just above that at number 8, it is the Buffalo Kansas City Part 1, their first postseason meeting back in the COVID year in 2020. This was a lot different than a lot of their recent matchups. This one, while obviously we knew it could be a close game, Bills had a chance. We went into it kind of being like Kansas City's going to win this one, I think. It would have been a little surprising to see Buffalo win that one, I think, just with, how Casey had been going. And it was a decent game. It wasn't the best game ever, wasn't a blowout. Like you saw 38-24, kind of in that middle range. We got the famous Stephon Diggs staring at the confetti thing, and he never quite got to make up for that, unfortunately. He's still trying this year, though, but it set up an awesome Super Bowl, right? I mean, the Chiefs were looking to go back to back, and they're going against Brady. But the Chiefs ultimately got blown out in that one. Honestly, the AFC side of the 2020 playoffs, the COVID year, just feels a little forgettable, honestly. Not the best year, if I'm going to be honest. So this one's at number 8. It's better than those bottom two, but still not the best game. But the top 7, I would argue, are all amazing games. All games that no complaints that this was a conference championship, right? And of course, they get better as we go. Number 7 is going to be Chiefs Ravens. And it felt like this was the one that Baltimore was finally going to get there. They were going to, dethrone the Chiefs. They were home for the AFC title game. Chiefs had to go on the road. It felt like the Ravens were going to finally do it. They had a chance. This happened. The fumble, Zay Flowers fumble at the goal line. It really turned the tide of that one, really took Baltimore, they had a really good chance to get that one if they did it, but ultimately the Chiefs won that, went on to beat the Niners in overtime of the Super Bowl. But this was a good game. It was a bit sloppy, a bit low scoring. If I remember correctly, it started out pretty strong. Like both teams scored right away, and we were like, oh, do we, maybe we got a shootout on our hands. And it kind of turned into a defensive slugfest for the rest of the game. One of those years the Chiefs offense didn't necessarily look the best, but somehow they still get it done. Somehow they still win the Super Bowl when it's all said and done. This was a good game. It was a tight game didn't have some of the exciting, memorable moments like some of the other ones up ahead. Unfortunately, I feel like this one will kind of be a little forgotten because, like I said, it's another Chiefs win, and there's nothing crazy memorable about it other than the Zay Flowers fumble. But number 6, this is one I never hear anyone talk about, but this was a great game. It was very chaotic. The Lions blew a huge lead in this one, and a lot of it goes to their failed fourth down attempts. I mean, multiple times they're going for it on fourth. Of course, they pass it, and they don't get it. They pass up field goals to tie the game. Dan Campbell, got questioned. He says he doesn't regret it. But man, that's one of those, so many times they could have just taken the points and they very well could win that game. And then of course you had a crazy play like this. This what you see on screen, the, I the Lions defender did not come down with this. Not only did he not come down with this, the Niners got the ball. He got this. That's insane. What a play it was. And it was a great conference championship in my opinion. The Niners did go on to lose to the Chiefs. This is the same year as that Chiefs Ravens one. They lost in the Super Bowl in overtime. But it was really a fun conference championship game. Surprised I don't hear as much about this one. I really haven't seen clips or this game has been brought up in a while. It feels like I know it's only been a couple years since it happened, but I was like going back through these, and somehow I'm like, wow, I almost somehow feel like I forget this happened, which is bizarre. It was a great game, a lot of fun. But those Lions mistakes in the first half look like Lions have it; they're going to run away. In the second half, the mistakes just piled up. Niners took the lead, and then the Niners just they ended up getting a 10-point lead in the fourth. Lions scored a late touchdown to keep it close, but the Niners really kind of took it away. But at number 5, this one, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, Brady versus Rodgers in the conference championship game. Basically, the Super Bowl we never got. We always wanted a Super Bowl between them. We never got it. We had to settle for a conference championship, and it was a good game. It was a really solid game. No complaints. The one thing there's two things I really remember. I remember this play a lot to end the half. Barely any time on the clock, and the Packers give this up. I just don't know what they were doing defensively. You could argue this ended up costing them the game. And then, of course, we all remember the Packers settling for a field goal instead of going for it on fourth, and then Aaron Rodgers never sees the ball again. This was really a great game. It was a lot of fun. It was close, came down to the end. I think what holds it back is it was kind of in a weird time, right? It was the COVID year. It was, there was some fans in the stand. It was that like what 10% capacity. So it was almost weirder than there being no fans because there was just like scattered fans you'd see in there. And it was also played at it was the early window with no fan. It just felt a little off. Um, but I mean, you have two legendary quarterbacks going at it. It was Brady. That playoff run for the Bucs that year was really incredible. I mean, the first game, right? They beat the Heineke and the Commanders. Not a big deal there on the road. But then they go on the road, knock off the Saints, who are the big dogs, right? They won that division that year. Then they go on the road and knock off the Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And then they play the Chiefs, who were favored in the Super Bowl, and they just dominate them. I mean, he did it in the AFC, and then he comes on over to the NFC and does it. I think this game really is a good one, and I think it's one that if it wasn't in the COVID year, you could see it be a lot higher. But it just it felt a little off, right, with the fan thing. I think we all know that year, but it doesn't take away from the run and how special that was. So that one lands at number 5. Really good ones up ahead. Number 4 is Bengals Chiefs Part 2. This was the back-to-back years these two teams met. This one had a lot of hype, but really what was a bummer about it is this is how it ended, right? We remember the Chiefs trying to get in the field goal range, almost out of time, and he gets hit out of bounds a little late. And, to this day, I went back to get this clip. To this day, I watch it, and I still don't know how I feel about the call because I'm like, technically, yeah, he gave him a small little shove out of bounds. So like, I don't think you can say the ref is wrong for that one. but at the same time, it's like, man, he did dive, right? We know. I mean, but I don't blame him, right? He's trying to send his team to the Super Bowl, but he dove a little bit. I'm like, I don't know if I'm a ref in that spot. It basically decides the AFC Championship game. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, but it was a good game. The Bengals had their chances in this one. I remember that. I mean, Joe Burrow had the ball in his hands several times with a chance to take the lead and just couldn't get it done. Um, Really, funny enough, I feel like nothing crazy memorable from this specific one outside of that last play, but it was just a great, hotly contested game. And it was kind of a little rivalry, with those teams doing it twice in a row. But at number three, though, from that same year, that playoff, 2021, this is the 2021-2022 playoffs. This year was stacked. It was the Rams, Niners. This was one of the most fun playoffs ever. People still talk about it. Not just this game. We have another game still remaining that's above this that we'll talk about. The divisional round. We remember that year. The Bengals Titans game. The Bills Chiefs 13 seconds was that year. The Rams Bucks Brady comeback that fell short. The Niners Packers snow game. It was a lot of fun playoffs. This was a great game between these two teams. You had division rivals. They hated each other, of course. It was a tight game. Niners, I think, had like a 10-point lead in the fourth. Rams came back. Aaron Donald with the pressure at the end. Rams go on and they do win the Super Bowl in their home stadium the next week. It was a great game. It was division rivals, like I said. Kind of a new matchup, something we hadn't seen. But it doesn't quite reach the levels of our top two. Still a great game. 2017, it was hotly contested there at SoFi. But coming in at number two, it is the AFC Championship from this past season. It was Bills, it was Chiefs. And, I definitely remember this. The Josh Allen fourth down attempt. Did he get it? Did he not? Who knows? It kind of looks like he did, but it's hard to say. That was a crazy one. But then the Bills had a chance, and I remember this play. I mean, he throws it down there, and when he throws it up, it doesn't look like he has a chance. But then it really feels like he should have caught that. They came oh so close. This one was not only such a good game and tight, some good amount of points being put up, but it was also a lot of hype going into it. These were two juggernauts. This was like maybe the two best teams in the league. It was Chiefs and Bills. We know their story. They met so many times in the playoffs. They keep meeting in the regular season too. Big rivals at this point. Could the Bills flip the page? There was so much awesomeness about this one heading into it. And the game, I'd say it lived up to the hype. It really did. It was a lot of fun. I know I enjoyed watching it. And Josh Allen just couldn't get over that hump once again, kind of same as this season. But that one is going to be number two. But just ahead of it, at number one is this one, Bengals Chiefs, the 2021-2022 playoffs. This one was awesome. Went to overtime. I mean, the Chiefs were up 21-3, I think, at one point in this game. The Bengals were coming into this one, and everyone has a chance when you make it to the conference championship game. But it was basically like they're gonna win this one, right? Because their only two playoff losses this far in Patrick Mahomes' career were both to Tom Brady. And they'd won every other playoff game they'd played. They were, I want to say, 6.5, 7-point favorites coming into this one. The Bengals weren't even expected to be in the playoffs that year. They go down 21-3, and then the comeback happens, and then you have obviously the overtime turnover was massive. This mistake, the tipped ball, the pick there, and then it sets up McPherson for the game winner. It was really just a great game. I remember watching this one, not a fan of either team, and I was going crazy. It was such a fun game. I couldn't believe it. And like I said, that was only the start of that conference championship Sunday, because you had that Ram Niner one later. Those 2021-22 playoffs were a lot of close games. I feel like that year had some of the most hotly contested, memorable playoff moments. This year certainly has done a great job so far, right? There's been a lot of tight games coming down to the end. There's been a couple, Seattle, San Fran, Pittsburgh, Houston, a couple blowouts and stuff. But for the most part, these playoffs have been great. I'm really looking forward to Sunday. Who's going to go to Super Bowl 60? I've already made my picks, of course. So if you want to see those, they're on my channel, one for each game. But I'm super excited. I hope it's some good football this Sunday, and I hope it sets up a good Super Bowl. Whatever the matchup is, I hope it's a good game. That's what I'm conflicted on the Patriots Broncos game because I'm like, it'd be so much fun if the Broncos won, but then at the same time, it's like, but are the Broncos going to beat the Seahawks or the Rams? I don't know, man. And I would hate to see a Super Bowl blowout. But then again, if they somehow made it a really good game and or won it or something, that would be a great story. So who knows? We just got to let it play out. It's going to be a fun time. Looking forward to it.